Hey guys, in this episode we're going to make a Pro Mod turbo manifold. Let's do it. So firstly, welcome back guys. Yes, I have done this video before, but not to this extent of detail. Pro Mod, it's quite simple. It's basically the difference between a Pro Mod and a conventional turbo manifold is the merge goes into a big 90. For this one it is a 65mm or 2.5 inch 90. Butt weld, and you can see how nice and thick that is. I think it's about 6mm wall or something, so I don't know exactly. These are butt weld elbows 1.5 inch, or called NB40, nominal bore 40, so it's 40mm ID, I believe. I also use thick wall tube, so my lengths for this is quite simple. It's 40mm, 100mm and 150mm, which will give you the placement which you'll see get together. I make my merge collectors 80mm long, and then I cut them on my saw. I have a special jig that I've made for that, so if you've followed me before and watched me make these before, you would have seen me do this plenty of times. It's bloody easy to do. And the 3RZ exhaust manifold flange, which is 12mm thick, which is nice and juicy for what we want to do to it, because we're probably going to linish a fair bit off it when we're finished. And a whole heap of these butt weld elbow 90s. These are all steam pipe guys. This is just a cold drawn pipe. You can get steam pipe, it is just ridiculously expensive. That's why I tend to use this. I've had good results with it. The turbo manifold that's currently in my car is 1 3/8 I think. So I've gone 1.5 inch, which is a little bit more flow. And being longer runners, it's also going to be better for spooling up the turbo. So hopefully it actually makes a significant difference. Anyway guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on the time lapse. I'm going to be using my Renegade MIG and TIG, because I use the MIG to tack it together, the TIG to weld it all out. So without any more talking, let's just do it. Most of you guys would have fast forwarded through this, but this is the most important part, is cleaning and preparing your material. That's why I have filmed it, and it's literally 6 hours worth of preparation and welding to get to a finished product with something like this. It is not something that is quick and easy. It does take a lot of time, and it all counts at the end where you have an amazing product. I also clean all the bevels, even though they come shiny. I also just go over them once over and clean them all. It's really worth the time, guys. Just spend the time, do it once, do it right. So you can see, guys, it is quite a lot of work to get everything nice and clean. What I mean by clean is get all the metal that you're going to weld. I went overboard with this one, but you can see you want it nice and shiny. I use 120 grit flat wheel. Yeah, 120 grit flat wheel. It does leave a better finish, and it doesn't take as much material away as like a 60 or an 80 grit does. The merge is next on my list to do after I tack this. So basically, tack this now that I've cleaned this material here, and I used they call it a paint. Oh, I can't even remember the name of it, but that black disc you would have seen me using, it basically takes off the mill scale and doesn't take any of the steel away. And then I just gave it a quick linish on the linisher just to make sure it's nice and flat on the bottom side. I also deburred and cleaned my block as well. You want a nice thick block. I think this block's around 8mm or something like that. It's quite thick, so you want something nice and solid that's actually going to be able to take the heat. And I clamped mine down to tack it, so I'll probably tack this spot here, this spot here, this spot here. Then I will put the clamp in the middle and clamp the middle as well, and then do a few tacks here, just so it's strong, it's held on there good, because you don't want it to move. So after I do that, then I'll get into the merge collector. The merge collector I hold together like so, find where I'm happy with it, and then I'll put a tack at the top, and then probably one in there or in here, but usually I just do one tack there and one tack on the inside so it holds it together, because what happens when you weld the top is they tend to sort of open up like that. So to counteract that, you'll tack the top first, hold the piece together, turn it around, and then tack the inside. And you probably want to do it up here a little bit out of the way. You don't want to do it right in here, because you're going to have to grind that down. And once I get them together like that, I take it over to the linisher, which I should do with you guys if I do remember to take the camera over with me, and I'll put it on the linisher and just get it flat, so that the two mating pieces are perfect, and that it's like a nice, really nice finish. So that's basically that. So let me get my tack on and we'll get into it.
but mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working here today is evidence of that.
Alright guys, so we've essentially tacked together and then cut it all apart. So the manifold is all ready to weld out now. I leave this part on so that I have a reference. So I'll basically weld this while it's on now, and hopefully it doesn't move too much. If it's going to move, it's only going to be like a couple of mil, which isn't going to be too bad. So I should be able to wrestle everything else to make it work. So one thing I will mention, guys, is just use lots of tacks to hold all your workpieces together. And try and keep it simple. You know, if you sort of work out the runner length, they're all pretty close, maybe like, you know, 2 inches, 50 mil in between them. That one's probably a little bit shorter. So from memory, I think 3RZ goes, I think the firing order is 1, 4, 2, 3. So probably doesn't matter too much, but on like Subarus and stuff, when you're making a manifold for a Subaru, to get equal length runners, you actually get a nice note. It's not the end of the world. It kind of is and it isn't. It's a weird one. You'll notice that I wire wheeled everything after I'd finished everything up. That's because the MIG welder leaves like a bit of a gas residue, and basically I just wire wheel everything, and it's all clean, ready to go for the TIG welder. And it's just mild steel, guys. It's not stainless. I know it's shiny, but that's because I make it look shiny with the flat wheel. It's really nothing fancy. As for the TIG welder, I'm going to be using ER70-6, which is a multi-pass wire. So I can do multiple passes. I'll only ever, just because the amount of heat I can put into this with the Renegade TIG, I can punch around 200 odd amps. 200, I don't know, it says on the screen 205, so I'm guessing 205. And I'll really put some heat into it. I might even, what I usually do is get the heat gun and heat up this plate before I weld all the runners to it. But again, guys, just make sure everything is spotlessly clean, which is why I've gone crazy with the wire wheel, and you know, really made an effort to because it will show in your final weld. So as you weld around, you'll see all the crap if you don't clean it. And also worth mentioning, guys, is acetone. So I'll go through and acetone all this, just make sure it's nice and clean. Again, it almost has to be like a surgery, like when you're TIG welding, especially with alloy. Alloy is the worst for it. You really want to make sure it's immaculately clean. So you know, take your time and just do it once, do it right. I'm going to get into this. I've also, you would have seen Steve, my lovely neighbour, over, and he's put this up on the lathe for me, and this is the flange for the G3900. So I've just got he just put a nice bevel on it for me and stuff, and I'm going to weld that to that piece there, which is the butt weld elbow 2.5 inch, which goes on the front. So I've got that, and I've got to drill a hole and put in the wastegate just off the side of it like that. I haven't decided how and where I'm going to do that yet, so I'm just going to let that chill for a minute and then I'll get back to that because I've got to make sure it fits. I'm sure it will, I don't want to go to all that effort and then cut it off and redo it. Anyway, let's get into some TIG welding. Again, I'm just going to put it on time lapse and you guys can just watch me just go through these pieces one by one. You would have seen me putting sunscreen on because it is quite warm here and I am just wearing just a t-shirt. So I put sunscreen all over myself and look, I wouldn't say it's going to stop the burn, but it definitely does help from the arc burn. I really should be wearing a long sleeve thing, and you would have picked up on it that I don't wear safety glasses a lot. It's because they fog up on me all the time, and poor excuse, I know, but I should really be wearing safety glasses. Anyway, let's get into it and stop talking shit. Sorry guys, I got called into work and forgot to film the rest of the build. I ended up MIG welding it together, purely just because I ran out of time as always. Got called into an emergency and ended up having to do a night shift, followed by a day shift, and then back to day shift again. Anyway, we won't go into that. So it's I'm going to show you a quick couple of pictures now of before the old placement and the new placement, and the difference between a Pro Mod and a standard turbo manifold. Let's do it. So you would have seen that, guys. There's definitely a few things that changed there. The turbo's gone from here to here, which has allowed for it's got, I wouldn't say better airflow, it's probably got the same. I also spent a shitload of time porting inside of here, and I also added Wiggins clamps. Now I'll probably do a little walk around in a second and show you what the Wiggins clamps do and what they look like, but they have heaps of movement and it's really cool because their flow is actually quite good. I am currently preparing for Japnats, which is this coming weekend. I've taken the week off work to make sure that I'm going to get there, the car's going to work and everything's going to be sweet. I just thought I'd spend a couple of minutes now and talk you through it. The reason why I decided to make the Pro Mod in the first place was for better turbo placement, and also because I had the Wiggins clamps and so on and so forth. Like I was talking about earlier in the video, the old turbo manifold was 32 NB, which is 32 mil nominal bore, where the 1.5 inch is actually 40 mil nominal bore, so it's 8 mil more flow per cylinder. Because I was running into back pressure issues, so I've done a 3.5-inch exhaust. Since its last tune, I have done a new Pro mod with the wastegate in a better position. I've also added all the Wiggins clamps, and we'll do the Wiggins clamps now. We'll run through what exactly they do, what they look like. Let's do it. Pulled one out of the box for you guys. It's brand new. Now the Wiggins clamp is named after the guy I think that developed it. And can you see how much movement you can have in this? So, and also the inside, the flow. So I've spent an absolute fortune on porting and port matching and things like that. So that's why I've gone insane with matching all the, and the aluminium pipe literally slides straight into this little groove here you can see, which makes for really, really good flow with super easy clamps. So the clamp is held in with a little pin. It has a little tail piece on there. You push the pin in and it slides out. Therefore undoing the clamp, which has very similar, like it's an O-ring with a sleeve. So you put the two O-rings obviously in the two slots, yada yada yada. Anyway, that's what I've put all through the car. Let's see where I put them. Could you walk any slower, you freaking retard? Alright, I put this into non-shaky mode so that you guys can actually see it. It's very hard to see in here, but this is my cold side. So there's one clamp here. You can see it quite freely moves, and there's lots of movement in there because I still have the factory rubber mounts. I've also welded on 90s onto my intercooler and then put the bloody Wiggins clamps after that, and then there's a 3-inch cast elbow followed by a Wiggins clamp after the front of the turbo. So I actually ended up cutting off part of the front of the housing to make that 3-inch short enough to get that radius bend. And like I said, I spent a lot of time porting inside all of these so that the flow was direct. So the shorter the distance, so this is the concept. The longer the exhaust gases mix together, the shorter the distance this has to go, the air has to travel, and the better it's cooled. So I've also cut out a massive slot in my bumper and made my aerator so it all sucks that air in. I will eventually put some sort of like a vent, a ducted vent in that way, somehow, some way. I haven't worked out what I'm going to do there yet, so I'm not sure if it's going to work, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. So the theory is, the longer the exhaust gases mix, the better the spool of the turbo. The shorter the distance that it runs, the more efficient the turbo becomes. So therefore, I make more horsepower quicker. Yeah. So that's why I did what I did, guys. It came out really, really good. I've ordered a short radius donut to change this. You can see that the welds look like a little piece of crap, and the reason for that is there was a big gap there. So what I did was welded the inside flat and then ported it, so it ended up making this look pretty ugly. So I'm not too concerned about that at the minute. I've got a short radius donut coming, which will make this a lot shorter, about this big. Probably the radius will be about here. So that means that this will sit further back and won't be touching the guard. So overall, guys, very happy with the Pro Mod. I've sold like 30 or 40 of these, 30 something. So I do supply them in the kit form. So if you do want it in the kit form and you can make one just like this video, it's probably the easiest and the cheapest way to do it. They're around $300 odd for the Pro Mod kit. So let me know and I will get in touch with you guys and sort it out. As always, guys, thanks for stopping in and checking out the channel. I really appreciate it. My next goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers. So I'm hoping with the few videos that I have coming up that it will take me over to that point. But I want all you guys to take care, and I will catch up with you all real soon.